My sister has an 18-year-old daughter, Casey. It was just the two of them for 10 years. Casey never knew her dad, which means my sister had sole custody of Casey. When she was little, Casey used to talk a lot about how there were these mean girls in school. One of them, Valerie, Casey disliked more than the others. She was the worst. My sister did her fair share of complaining about the dad too, especially when she had to replace an eraser a couple of weeks into school starting, because Valerie broke it. When Casey was 9, my sister and Valerie's dad started to spend time together, and then they got married a year later. There was a lot of shock on my part, seeing as my sister knew how Casey felt about Valerie, and given her own complaints about Valerie's dad allowing her to get away with so much. But he's an attractive guy, and I guess that won out over everything else. The announcement to Casey went about as well as can be expected. She was furious at her mum, more so on her wedding day because my sister wanted the girls to match and look like sisters for the first time. Valerie used the wedding to taunt some of Casey's friends, saying she was going to replace them with her. It only added fuel to an already bright fire. Casey ultimately refused to take part in the wedding on the day and sat with me. Things in their household were tense for years afterward. My sister would get upset that Casey was so mad about it, that she didn't change her opinion of Valerie at all, and that she would very strongly deny that they were sisters. About 2 years after she got married, my sister decided they all needed family therapy. It was only in the last 2 years that Valerie appears to have grown, and from the outside it does not look like she's the bully she once was. But Casey still cares nothing for her. Both girls graduated in May, and Casey moved out and in with me, wanting to get away from Valerie. The other day, my sister and I met up for lunch, and she was venting about Casey not talking to Valerie at all, and how Valerie had wanted them to meet up every day after classes started. They go to different colleges, but both are local. But Casey didn't even answer her. She said she thought after all these years Casey would see Valerie as a true sister, and even if she didn't like her, there would be some sense of family loyalty there. I was shocked to hear my sister say that. She noticed and asked me why I looked like a fish. I told her I had never expected her to be so naive to think Casey would feel that way when she hated Valerie long before she, my sister, met her husband. My sister's attitude changed very fast, and she told me that I'm the naive little brother to think these things don't change when family bonds are created. I told her that family bonds aren't created that easily when there is already bad blood present. No matter how much she might want them to be there, she told me I owed her an apology, and she'll be waiting for it. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The only one owed an apology is your niece. Your sister put her partner ahead of her, and my guess is everyone realised what a mean girl her stepdaughter is, and now she is demanding someone to keep company or bully. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your sister chose her partner over her daughter, bringing her bully into her home and trying to force them to play nice. Her daughter will never forgive, forget, or get over that. Well done for supporting your niece. Now, for the update. Thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a wild few days since then, and I've got some updates that you might find interesting. So, after the lunch with my sister, things got even more tense. Casey came over to my place the next day, and we ended up talking about the whole situation. She was pretty upset, saying that her mum had been pressuring her to make nice with Valerie. Casey felt like her mum was always taking Valerie's side, and it was driving her nuts. She said she didn't want anything to do with Valerie, and that she was tired of being made to feel guilty for it. The next day, my sister called me. She was in tears, saying that Casey had blown up at her over the phone. Apparently, Casey had told her that she felt betrayed and that her mum was more concerned about Valerie's feelings than hers. My sister was begging me to talk some sense into Casey, to convince her to at least be civil with Valerie. I told her I'd think about it, but honestly I was on Casey's side. I didn't say that to my sister, though. Later that week, I ran into Valerie's dad at the grocery store. It was awkward, to say the least. He tried to make small talk, asking how I was doing and if I'd seen Casey lately. I kept it short, not really wanting to get into it with him. He then started talking about how hard it's been at home, with Casey gone and the tension between her and Valerie. He seemed genuinely upset about it, which surprised me a bit. I just nodded along, not really sure what to say. The following day, my sister invited me over for dinner. It was a disaster waiting to happen, but I went anyway. Dinner was tense, with my sister trying to act like everything was normal. Valerie was there and she kept trying to make conversation with me, probably to show that she was making an effort. It felt forced, and I wasn't in the mood to play happy families. After dinner, my sister pulled me aside. She said she was sorry for how things went down at lunch and that she didn't mean to upset me. But then she started in on how I needed to help her fix things with Casey. She said that family was the most important thing and that we needed to be united. I told her that I couldn't force Casey to feel something she didn't, and that maybe she needed to focus on why Casey felt the way she did instead of trying to push her into a relationship with Valerie. The conversation didn't go well. My sister got defensive, saying that I didn't understand because I didn't have kids. She said that she was just trying to do what was best for her family. I told her that maybe what was best was to listen to Casey and give her some space. We ended up arguing, and I left feeling frustrated and angry. The next day, Casey called me, saying that her mum had been crying on the phone to her, saying that I was taking Casey's side and that I didn't care about family. Casey was confused and didn't know what to do. She felt guilty for causing her mum so much pain, but also angry that her feelings weren't being considered. I didn't know what to tell her. I wanted to support her, but I also didn't want to make things worse with my sister. It's like no matter what I do, someone gets hurt. So, here we are 3 days later, and nothing's really changed. My sister is still waiting for an apology from me. Casey is still living with me and avoiding Valerie, and Valerie's dad is caught in the middle of it all. I'm not sure where we go from here. It feels like we're all stuck in this cycle of hurt feelings and misunderstandings, and I don't see an easy way out. I wish I had a better update, something that wrapped everything up in a neat bow, but life's not like that, is it? It's messy and complicated, and sometimes there are no good answers. I'm just hoping that with time things will get better. But for now, we're all just trying to figure out how to move forward. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Oh boy, sounds like you've got a real-life telenovela on your hands. Here's a thought. Maybe Casey and Valerie can bond over their mutual dislike of being pushed together. It's like trying to mix oil and water with a fork. Family therapy. Schmamily therapy. Some things need time, not force. Comment 2. Had a similar fiasco when my cousin married my childhood nemesis. Trust me, you can't manufacture fondness like a batch of cookies. It took us years and a flat tire in the middle of nowhere to finally break the ice. Time heals, or at least it makes you forget why you were mad. Now, for the next story. My parents divorced when I, 17 years old, was 5. I'm not sure why. Part of me has always figured Dad cheated on Mum because he was with someone suspiciously fast afterward, like that same month fast, but my mum never spoke about it. She just told me both she and Dad loved me, and that would never change, and I would never have to choose between my parents. My dad was in 2 live-in relationships post-divorce. When I was 7, he was with Jen and had Luna, 9, with her, and then when I was 10, he was with Bree and had Harry, 7, with her. Jen and Bree both stopped being mums to their kids, and so my dad became a single full-time parent to my half-siblings. From that point onward, my dad has tried to convince Mom she could step up and at least feel some kind of female role model relationship with them. He also corrects me on the term half-siblings, and says, we are just siblings, and if I were to call them just my siblings, it might soften Mum's heart to being a female or maternal figure for them. He would ask Mum on my behalf to let me have my half-siblings over to her house during her custody time. My parents share equal time with me. He would claim I really missed my half-siblings when I was gone, and he would claim I wanted to spend every holiday with them, etc. None of this is true. I never said those things or implied them. Luna is having a really hard time having no female family members. She has a dad, 2 half-brothers and an uncle. So Dad has been more forceful about Mum's part in all of this lately, and now he is trying to rope me in more. He sat me down recently and told me my half-siblings deserve to have moms, and I could help them with that. I could share my mom and let them feel the love they deserve to feel. He said I have always treated them like lesser siblings. First, with always using half, and then with not trying to include them in my life, at my mum's house. He told me this is where my role as a big brother needs to really take off. In response, I told him it's not my job, and has never been my job to provide my half-siblings with a mum. I told him it was on him and their actual mums to do that. And I told him it was sick how he kept trying to rope my mum in. I told him to accept that he only had 1 kid with Mum, and she was only obligated to care for me. His answer to that was, I was disappointing him with both my response and lack of concern for the overall well-being of my half-siblings, and he told me to do better, be better, and care more about my innocent little siblings. I told my mum about it, and she tore Dad a new one for putting this on me. She told me I am not wrong in what I said to him. But my uncle also said I could have more compassion for my innocent half-siblings. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Does your dad collect kids? How on earth is it your responsibility to share your mum, like that's even a thing? Weird. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Does your uncle have a wife or daughters? Tell him if he is concerned, get them to step up. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. They really helped me see things more clearly, and I wanted to share what's happened since then. After the whole confrontation with my dad, things were pretty tense for a while. I stuck to my guns, though, and didn't back down on my stance that it wasn't my responsibility to provide a mother figure for Luna and Harry. It was tough, but I felt like I had to stand up for myself and set some boundaries. Mom was a rock during this time. She reassured me that I wasn't in the wrong and that my feelings were valid. She also had a few more conversations with Dad, which I wasn't privy to, but I could tell they made an impact. Dad started to back off a bit, and the pressure on me eased. In the meantime, Luna was still struggling. I couldn't just ignore that. So I started spending more one-on-one time with her. We'd go out for ice cream, or I'd help her with her homework. It wasn't about trying to fill a motherly role, it was about being a brother. And you know what? It helped. Luna seemed happier, and our bond as siblings grew stronger. Harry, on the other hand, was a bit of a different story. He was always a quiet kid, but I noticed he was opening up more when it was just the two of us. We started a weekend tradition of playing video games together, and those sessions became something we both looked forward to. As for Dad, he eventually came around. I think he realized that he couldn't force a family dynamic that just wasn't there. He started focusing more on being the best dad he could be, rather than trying to find a surrogate mom for Luna and Harry. It was a relief to see him taking responsibility and not trying to push it onto Mom or me. Speaking of Mom, she surprised us all. One day, she sat me down and told me she'd been thinking a lot about Luna and Harry. She said that while she wasn't their mum, she cared about them because they were my siblings and part of our extended family. She started inviting them over for dinner once in a while, and even took Luna shopping for some new clothes. It wasn't a sudden transformation, but over time, Mom became a sort of honorary aunt to Luna and Harry. She made it clear that she wasn't trying to replace their mums, but she was there if they needed her. It was a kind gesture that meant the world to them, and it eased the tension in our blended family. As for my uncle, he saw the changes and apologized for suggesting I lacked compassion. He admitted he hadn't seen the full picture and was impressed with how I'd handled everything. Fast forward to now and things are so much better. Dad's relationships with Luna and Harry are stronger than ever. He's more confident in his role as a single parent and has even joined a support group for single dads, which has been great for him. Luna and Harry are thriving. Luna's grades have improved and she's made some new friends at school. Harry's come out of his shell and is more talkative than I've ever seen him. And as for me, I feel like I've finally found my place as their big brother. Mum continues to be amazing. She's found a balance in being supportive without overstepping, and her relationship with Dad has even improved. They're not best friends or anything, but they can be in the same room now without it being awkward, which is a huge step forward. In the end, it took some tough conversations and a lot of patience, but we've all found a way to coexist and support each other. Luna and Harry have a stable family environment, and I've learned a lot about what it means to be a brother. It's not about titles or blood relations, it's about the love and support you give. So, yeah, things are pretty good now. It's not perfect, but it's our kind of perfect, and I'm okay with that. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Hey, it sounds like you're in a tough spot. Have you considered family counselling? It could help navigate these complex dynamics. It's not on you to be a mother figure, but therapy might improve understanding and relationships within your blended family. Plus, it could offer your dad some perspective on boundaries. Comment 2. I went through something similar when my dad remarried. It was rough at first, but we found our balance over time. It's okay to set limits on the role you play in your siblings' lives. Your dad will have to accept that, just like mine did. Hang in there. Now, for the next story. 2 years ago, my mother started dating a man. Despite expressing our reluctance to meet him because she was serial dating, we did not want to get attached. They forced the situation, making my sisters and me uncomfortable. Shortly after, he began staying over regularly. My mother's personality changed significantly after meeting him. For example, he would make disgusting comments about my mother in front of us, and she would just laugh. About a year ago, they came home after a date, and I, busy with a timed online university assignment, just shouted hello from my desk. 20 minutes later, with not a word to me or my sister, I heard the outside gate slam and them leaving just as I finished my assignment. I went out to check what was happening, but they were already gone. 10 minutes after they left, my sister and I received a horrible voice message where my mother accused us of being disrespectful and ungrateful and how we do not want her to be happy. She also accused us of not greeting either of them when they came inside, but we both did. She left for a week and a half, leaving us with 4 days' worth of food in the freezer and no money for electricity or any way to get my sister to school during this week, and also no return date. She wanted us to apologize for being brats and not greeting them before she would consider coming back. When we finally talked, she insisted that we were disrespectful for not dropping everything and meeting them at the front door to greet them when they came back, and also that neither of us greeted them in any form. Not true, because I did, and I heard my sister greet them as well. They are the ones who did not respond. The house was small, so it is improbable that they didn't hear us. Mind you, this subject was never broached previously to this incident, and in all the years my mother never required us to greet her at the door like a butler. The power was running low as well as the food, so we bit the bullet and apologized, even though we clearly weren't guilty of what she was accusing us of. My sister was still in high school, and I was a first-year university student, so neither of us had the financial capacity to keep a household running. During this talk, I informed her that our relationship would never be the same. Recently, my mother questioned why our relationship remains distant. I reminded her that I had warned her about the lasting impact of our argument. Trust in her as a reliable parent was shattered, and I couldn't simply forget the 2 weeks she abandoned us based on false accusations. While she urged me to move on, I emphasized that she created this distance, and I couldn't force a connection that no longer existed. She is calling me a jerk for holding this over her head. She says that she's still my mother and deserves forgiveness, but despite her being my mother, I believe the trust has been irreparably damaged. She has given me no indication that she has changed. So am I the jerk for what I said now? For a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Forgiveness is for people who are sorry and show that. She did a horrible thing yet has no remorse. You should have called the cops and reported her missing, and for abandoning your sibling who is a minor. Comment 2. She says that she's still my mother and deserves forgiveness. Not the idiot. Forgiveness is never deserved. She can ask for it or ask what she must do to earn it, but it cannot simply be demanded. Now for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. They really helped me see things from different perspectives, and I appreciated the support. So, a lot has happened in the past 3 months. After our last conversation, things with my mom stayed pretty much the same. She continued to date the guy, and their relationship seemed to be getting more serious. I tried to keep my distance, focusing on my studies and helping my sister with school. But it was hard to ignore the tension at home. Then, about a month ago, my mum sat us down for a talk. She said she had some news. We braced ourselves, expecting an announcement of an engagement or something. Instead, she told us that she and her boyfriend were breaking up. It was a shock, to say the least. She seemed upset but also relieved. She said that she had started to see some red flags and didn't want to ignore them like she had in the past. For the next few weeks, things were actually okay. My mum was more like her old self. She was more attentive, and we even had a few family dinners together. It felt like maybe we were turning a corner and could start to rebuild our relationship. But then 2 weeks ago, my mum's ex-boyfriend showed up at our house. He was angry and yelling, demanding to speak with my mum. She wasn't home at the time, and I tried to calm him down, but he was really aggressive. It was scary, and I ended up calling the police. They came and took him away, and we found out he had a history of this kind of behaviour. My mum was shaken when she found out what had happened, and she apologised to us for bringing someone dangerous into our lives. After that incident, my mum became really reflective. She started going to therapy and joined a support group for women who have been in toxic relationships. She's been more open with us, sharing her feelings and actually listening to ours. It's been a big change, and I've been cautiously optimistic. Just last week, my mum came to me with a proposal. She said she wanted to make things right and suggested family counselling. She acknowledged that she had made mistakes and wanted to work on repairing our relationship. I was hesitant, but I agreed to give it a try for my sister's sake. We've had a couple of sessions so far, and it's been interesting. It's hard to talk about everything that's happened, but it feels good to finally be heard. My mom has been taking responsibility for her actions, which is something I never thought I'd see. Now here's the twist. Yesterday we got a letter in the mail. It was from a law firm addressed to my mum, my sister and me. We opened it together, and it turns out that my mum's ex-boyfriend had passed away shortly after the incident at our house. We were all in shock, but that wasn't the biggest surprise. The letter stated that he had left us a significant amount of money in his will. It was completely unexpected. We didn't even know he had that kind of money, let alone that he would leave it to us. My mum was especially stunned. She had no idea why he would do this, considering how things ended between them. We're still processing this news. It's a lot to take in, and we have no idea what to do with the money. My mom wants to put it into a fund for my sister's education and maybe use some to continue our family counselling. It's a strange feeling, knowing that this man who caused so much turmoil in our lives has now, in a way, provided for us. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm still not sure how I feel about everything, but I'm hopeful that maybe this is a chance for us to start fresh and move forward in a positive direction. It's not how I ever imagined things would turn out, but life is full of surprises, I guess. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, that's a tough spot to be in. Have you considered setting some boundaries with your mom about discussing the past? It might help to clear the air. Also, maybe think about what you'd feel comfortable with regarding the inheritance. It's okay to take your time deciding. Comment 2. I had a similar experience with my dad's new partner. It was rough, but after a lot of talks and some space, we managed to rebuild some trust. It's never easy, but it sounds like you're on the right path with counselling. Hang in there and take it one day at a time. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.